U.S. intelligence agency, mind control.
So I guess we'll start with this video and then jump to you and you can explain everything. Have as much time as you want.
This is an urgent update coming out of Iran. Toomaj Salehi, our beloved Iranian rapper, considered the Tupac of Iran, has been sentenced to death by hanging. They intend to lynch this man from a crane for making rap music. Toomaj was arrested in 2022 following the protest that erupted in Iran after the murder of Mahsa Jina Amini, a young Kurdish woman. He was charged with moharebe, waging war against God, corruption on earth, which is a spurious charge, for allegedly spreading propaganda about the desperate and desperate.
Hopefully, I mean, she's talking over it. Should get claimed.
Audiences in the West to mobilize now.
Also, and let me explain why. Because who's going to claim it? Him? At this point, like he can't. He has.
Who fucking knows?
I don't know.
Who fucking knows? At this point,
with YouTube,
there's no copyright laws in Iran, so.
I'm sure.
I'm sure somebody claims
YouTube.
YouTube
somewhere. Is real finicky, but
yeah,
I'm sure it's fine.
How? Previously, when Iranians were sentenced to death in Iran, we used this campaign, say their names to save their lives, to get their death sentences commuted. It worked in 2020 when 3 young men were sentenced to death for protesting high gas prices. It worked again in 2022 when they started arresting young Iranians for protesting. As soon as the international media picked up on their cases, the regime inside Iran became worried that the international community was going to turn its attention back on Iran again, and that is the last thing that they want. Almost every time that a person gets international attention, they tend to commute the sentence. We need you to say Toomaj's name to save his life. Please use the hashtag #FreeToomaj or hashtag Toomaj Salehi and tag international media outlets so we can try to stop Toomaj, our beloved rapper, from being lynched.
Okay. So.
Yeah, so also that wasn't like Toomaj's first ever arrest. He was arrested before the Women Life Freedom movement as well. And I just want to like talk about how fucking brave this man is, because it's a little bit unheard of, to be honest. So he gets arrested in 2021. He comes out on bail and then he puts out a song saying like literally in front of the prison that he was imprisoned at. That's where he filmed it. And the song is about like how he would gladly accept a death sentence if that means a free Iran. And right now, so last night his sentence was given to him and he didn't want it published because he was worried that it might affect people psychologically. His friends are saying that he is actually the one calming them and his family as well. So this is like the like volume and like just the courage that he has just to begin with. But yeah, so basically he's dubbed the Tupac of Iran because like no one knows much about Iran, but he has been really at the forefront of the movements even before the Women Life Freedom movement. And his main messages are unity, and it's always been unity. So in a lot of his songs, he's been singing about how regardless of your ethnicity, because Iran has about like 20 or 40 ethnicity living there. And he literally says like, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your language that you speak, regardless of the religion you have, like we're all Iranian and we all have to be wanting a free and just Iran for all of us, not just for like some of us. So that's been like one of the things that the regime really doesn't want out, because one of the propagandas that regime has been working on since the beginning of the revolution, or the regime, basically 1979, was that Kurds are separatists. So their goal is to separate, from Iran, and that's always been like their only message about like Kurds, and hence they were justifying their like their suppression of the Kurds, Baluch as well, and
Dehumanization.
Sorry, what was
in
that?
a way. It's dehumanization in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
It's otherization is probably a better way to say it, because it's like, oh, we are us and they want to get away from it.
Yeah, no, it's like, because the thing about like Iranians, and I've talked with you about it as well, it's also like the Kurdish Iranians that I've spoken with are very different than like the other Kurdish people that I've spoken with. And actually a Kurdish friend of mine had asked a small survey from like her Kurdish, followers, and she was asking like, do you guys want a separate country called Kurdistan, right? And she said that overwhelmingly Kurdish Iranians were like, why? Like, we want a free Iran. That's what we want, and not like, we don't want to be separate from Iran. And that has always been like the case for like how the Kurds feel. And it's like the whole just being and like Iranian, it's such a like deep identity in everyone, regardless of our identity or ethnicity or our language or even religion. And the regime has always been working on, the Baluch wants to be separate, the Kurds want to be separate, and they refuse being Iranian. That's what they were like always saying, which is funny because the only group that really refuses to be Iranian is the regime. And so yeah, and Toomaj Salehi, what was that?
I just was like, you got him, burn.
Yeah. And so like Toomaj was really advocating for, I don't know what happened to my thing, but he was just like always advocating for
I took these off just so they wouldn't cover anyone.
Oh, okay.
I also while I'm interrupting, I had to go get my other headphones, so I'm not doing a serious segment in cat ears.
Fair point.
They're so much more comfortable. It's crazy.
I mean, no one's judging. And also, like, thank you guys for just even like covering this, because as you might have noticed, the only people talking about it is Iranians.
Very hard to find videos.
In other places, because I've seen Kurds in outside of Iran talk about it too, because they do like all the Kurdish organizations that like advocate for their rights and stuff. They'll do it for all Kurds everywhere, but they'll frame it a specific way, of course.
Yeah. Honestly, the only Kurdish organizations I follow every day, it's I can't remember their name, or I can't pronounce their name. It's well, I should have. I'm very dyslexic. Sorry, I never actually read a word that I see, but it has like A-C-W and the name, and G as
I recognize I recognize Arabic the way I do English at this point. It's just like I recognize this symbol, I read it
they're like I never actually read anything. I just like, but whatever. So they had posted about it, but overall, and I feel like this is what the regime really wanted. It's the perfect time to get rid of one of the most important oppressions, right? Like oppositions, sorry. And the timing couldn't have been better. There is a lot of talks about freedom of speech in America right now. So like if us Iranians say, like the Islamic Republic has no freedom of speech, they're just gonna be like, oh my God,
so
neither does America. Like, like it's not the same. It's not the same. Even like when people say like he's the Tupac of America, or sorry, the Tupac of Iran, it still makes me like, because like,
It's still
okay,
comparing.
yeah, like sure, he was also shot and killed, but it's very different to like go in front of a kangaroo court and actually be handed down a death sentence. Like, it's completely legal, right? Like, the regime is saying you've done something wrong and we're very legally killing you and we're justified in it. And that's not the case for like Tupac's death, right? Like, no one's saying like that was a just assassination. And people still like, a lot of people are like, we're not sure who actually did it, right? Like,
I mean, isn't this whole like Diddy going down? Isn't that bringing up questions about his involvement in it? I'm pretty sure. Chat, let me know.
I haven't looked at that.
Yeah, I don't
but
care that much
but
about it.
it's just
No.
like very different, like when you go in front of a court and the court hands you a death sentence. And again, I really wish you would play that video of why he got the death sentence for. So again, he was arrested once, comes out, puts up this music, which is just like, literally you have to have like steel balls to do that.
If is it you want us to listen to a song, I can download it and
No,
do.
it's not a song. It's actually, so he
Is
gets
it this one?
arrested again in 2020. Yes. So in
Okay.
2020.
Oh, the one that you posted.
Yeah, so this is what, so he comes out of prison on hefty bail. Like, the bail is so high that the regime actually thought, like, he's not going to say anything, obviously, right? And they were wrong. He did say this. And like, let's just like watch it because there's
Go
nothing
ahead.
bad.
امیدوارم حالتون خوب باشه. امروز 5/9/402 اولین ویدیویی که من از خودم منتشر میکنم. ویدیوهای دیگه‌ای که از من داره پخش میشه توی فضای مجازی مال ویدیوهای بعد از آزادی سال 1400 که برای آهنگ سوراخ‌موش من گرفته بودم. ببخشید که یه مقدار دیر اومدم عرض ادب بکنم، به خاطر اینکه یه کوچولو فشار روانی روم بود و داشتم در واقع باهاش یه جورایی کلنجار میرفتم تا به اون حالت نرمال برسم. آدم حالا عکس رو میتونه خودش رو خوب نشون بده.
Just to pause for a second. He was in prison for about 500 days, and 252 of that, or sorry, 300 days, so almost a year, and 200 out of those 300, actually over a year, but 252 days he was in solitary confinement. So the majority of it he was in solitary confinement. He had broken bones. He is a boxer. He actually has like medals and whatever. And he had broken leg. I think it was his knee, and his arms as well, that were mended improperly. So he was out, and he actually had a lot of like doctor appointments to go and like have surgeries to correct those, which he didn't get to do that. He was actually kidnapped and taken back to a undisclosed location, and then later transferred to Isfahan prison, which he was in. But the only thing that he could do is just go to like one of his dentist appointments. But what he's saying is that like we need to remember his teeth were shattered, his bones were shattered, and he was in solitary confinement for the majority of his unjust imprisonment, only because he had actually went out to protest, and that was it. So yeah. Also, if you want to like speed it up, if you guys can read fast, you could do that as well.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
ولی ویدیو خب خیلی مشخصه حالت چطوره و می‌خواستم حالم خوب باشه، خیلی خوب باشه وقتی که میام که هست الان.
It's very fast. Maybe not.
Okay.
از
It's
همین
because I'm
بالاتر از همه
understanding the
می‌خواستم تشکر کنم از
Farsi.
همتون.
Yeah, it's also fine because like we can stop it at multiple times, and this can
Yeah.
just basically take up most of the segment.
بهتون نیاز داره حمایت کردید توی این مدت و همبستگی رو نشون دادید که من به شخصه ندیده بودم هیچ وقت. به خاطر اینکه خسته نشدیم، به خاطر اینکه ما رو فراموش نکردیم، به خاطر اینکه بچه‌های یک فوتان رو هنوز فراموش نکردیم، بچه‌هایی که هنوز توی حصر هستن رو فراموش نکردید. دمتون گرم. یه چیز خارق‌العاده‌ای بوده، حداقل برای من خیلی چیز بزرگی بوده. هر بار که به نحوی حتی وقتی توی بازداشتگاه اطلاعات بودم.
It's interesting specifically saying the intelligence agency's prison. Like that's very specific. That's very interesting.
Because it's like the CIA, right? And
yeah, the black sites.
We were actually like talking today, and a lot of people were saying that like their family or friends have been arrested, and they come out of the prison and they're like, well, we did our sentence, we're out, and they're still hopeful. And then suddenly close family members of them like dies in a car crash. And these are all just the agency doing this stuff, right? So yeah, they are, yeah. And he says a lot more. And this is the video that he got the death sentence for, by the way.
صحبت کردنم یه جورایی نشدنیه با خانواده. به خاطر اینکه ملاقات‌ها خیلی کوتاهن و مأمور کنارتون هست و اجازه نمیده صحبت کنید در مورد هر چیزی، ولی اونجا هم گاهی یه چیز کوچیکی، یه خبر کوچیکی از اینکه از من یا از دیگران دارید حمایت میکنید به من میرسید و این خیلی 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 زیاد دلگرم کننده بود. یه انرژی دوباره بود. اگه این چیزا نبود که خب قطعا ما هم مثل بقیه کسایی که اونجا میومدن و آسیب میدیدن، آسیب روانی میدیدن، نمیتونستیم تحمل کنیم. خودم رو عزم میکنم و بقیه بچهای سیاسی که اومدن و رفتن. من راستش اولین ویدیویی دارم میگیرم، نمیدونم بعد یه کمی سختم راستش و یه سری نکته هست که بعد از تشکر میخواستم بگم. یکی این که خیلی 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 قوی دارن حمله میکنن به من حالا که نتونستن نگه هم دارن توی زندان و به خاطر شماست که منو نجات دادین از اونجا و البته قبلش جونم رو نجات دادین و یک بار هم سال 400.
Is this going to put us on a list in Iran?
I don't know.
Does that mean I'm on a list in China and Iran now? Nice. I got to add more of these countries.
Another thing that I just wanted to say is that fuck, I forgot. Never mind. I forgot.
It happens.
Yeah. Dang.
If you remember, let me know.
اینجا به من میگن قهرمان در صورتی که من یه آدم خیلی معمولی هستم و قهرمان شمایید که من رو نجات دادید. من که کسی رو نتونستم نجات بدم جایی. هرگز.
Yeah, I think what I wanted to say is that it's what it's funny is that like the entirety of this 3 minutes has just him being like thankful to people for not only for like being active about him, but about every other political prisoner. And like Iranians are very like, we are the type of people who like, if you do like the smallest thing for us, we'll be grateful to you for like the rest of our life. And I feel like we just like really we didn't do what we should have or we could have done for him, and for him to like be disgraceful, it's so heart-wrenching.
مثلا نگه دارن مثل دفعات قبل سعی میکنن تخریب کنن.
I remembered what I wanted to say. Oh God. So the Islamic Republic is really good at propaganda. It is.
Yeah, it's outstanding.
I would say they are number one, to be honest with you. And what they had done, because Toomaj was freed on hefty bail, a lot of people were like, "Oh, told you he was with the regime. Like he is with the regime." And
He's a plant. Interesting.
it was a lot. Yeah, it was like a lot of division between like people. And I'm like, first of all, like, what do you guys want him to do? Like, do you guys want him to be dead and then be like, oh, well, turns out he wasn't a plant?
So it's like when they try people for being a witch, you know?
Yeah. It's like, oh, well, they weren't a witch and they will go to heaven, or they're a witch and now they're dead. Like, what do you want? Like, there's no winning here, and this is the problem with military, right? It's always the same.
And like, luckily they couldn't do it for too long, especially because like they arrested him again. But yeah, like, it's just so sad because
here's
like,
chat right here. I saw people saying he's fake opposition.
Yeah, like there's this, and that's like another thing. Like us Iranians outside Iran, and not just like the ordinary people like me, but like the opposition heads are really, really disappointed everyone. There's like a lot more infighting between the opposition than like just them coming together, being like, you know, having this solidarity and being against the regime. And they are really just like disappointing everyone. And another thing is that like not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago actually, the regime started going out with the morality police again, arresting women heavily. And people in Iran, they're terrified. Like Toomaj he's a household name at this point, and he got the death sentence. Like everyone's terrified. People are being, you know, executed on a daily basis, and we don't even know their names. So like I understand that like it's very scary to like be in Iran, and at the same time like we don't have this opposition, you know, like this strong opposition group. And it's just, and like another thing that it's really bothering me is that a lot of people right now are commenting and saying things like, oh, he was such a hero, and I'm like, he's still here, like we could still do something.
They're acting like it's the fight isn't worth fighting already.
And
I know musicians in the past, it's much less of figures like this, but you know, just like regular underground musicians who like basically they went through like tons of like mock executions and stuff, and eventually they just were let go and granted asylum and like never came back to Iran.
The thing is that like everyone was like, Toomaj, like why are you staying in Iran? And he's like, this is my fucking country, like you cannot ask me to leave my fucking country. And, like, I don't know, as a person who, you know, like had to flee, I'm like, well, I don't really have, like, I'm not in a position to tell people in Iran to like go out on the street right now, but at the same time, like waiting for him to be executed and then possibly go out, that's just like too late.
It's unacceptable. It's not acceptable. Like, it shouldn't have taken this long, is more the point, I think. But nobody's talking about it. That's the other thing. Still, I was looking for videos. I think the newest one you sent me was 5 months.
Well, and now we can cut
Like-
this, and now there's going to actually be an English video
Yes.
for people. So
Yeah. So maybe, hopefully, we can do something and people can get
and
a
that's
hold
another
of it.
issue with Iran. Like inside the Middle East, it's very isolated from movements because it's not connected to like Arab culture, and then also just because the main movement is a rejection of the Islamic regime. So then there's always this, like, the regime is so good at putting out propaganda that it's like all these people are burning Qurans and they hate Islam.
Like,
You know?
and that's another thing that like we always get hate for, like just being Iranian, not
Mhm.
being Arab, as you mentioned. And it's so funny because it's kind of like the Middle East really expects 87 million Iranians be sacrificed for, you know, their anti-Semitism. And I'm not saying that like the Palestinian movement is anti-Semitism, but a lot of other nations, like if you don't have a skin in the game, the most likely reason why you're so strongly against Israel is anti-Semitism. And I've grown up with it, right? Like in Iran, we line up every day. We say death to Israel, death to America before we go to like classes. It's like this is something that like we're raised on, right? And for us Iranians to be like, no, like death to the dictator. And this is like so funny. Like imagine a country where saying death to the dictator gives you a death sentence.
Why do you think Iranian people are taking this treatment differently to, say, the Chinese, who arguably are experiencing similar sort of levels of oppression when it comes to like the police state and speaking out against the government, and they're isolated from the
So
world?
even Saudi Arabia is comparable, you know?
Yeah. Like,
What do you
what do you
mean?
think the difference is? So, like, why do you think there is such a "don't fucking tell me what to do" sort of attitude coming from Iranian people
Look,
in such a short time too? Because it's only been like 40 years, right?
yeah, so here's the thing. Like if you actually read Iranian history, we've been invaded by a lot of people. We've been invaded by the Mongols. We've been invaded by the Arabs. We've been invaded by the Greeks. We've been invaded by a lot and a lot and a lot of people, right? And each and every single time, these people have Iranianized. Like they have Persianized is what we say, but it's like really just like being
That's how
Iranian.
Afghanistan is
The
as well. That's why there's
Mongols
so many
ended
ethnic
up
groups there.
like every single one of these invaders at the end of it started being either Persianized or kicked out. And it's because like we are like it's our identity, right? Like I was actually being sworn in as a US citizen today, and it's like they would like the judge would ask us to stand up, and I would like stand up, say the Pledge of Allegiance, sit down, and like follow the news in Iran. Like you can take us out of Iran, but you cannot take Iran out of us. You just cannot. And like maybe Saudi Arabia, you know, like that's where Islam is from. So maybe like that's their culture. I don't know. Maybe like in China, like the Chinese government is not forcing them to be like Japanese, right? But like they are really trying to like make us not be Iranian. Like when you talk with the especially like the pro-Palestinian people in the region, so we get like a lot of shit from pro-Palestinians in the West, and then the pro-Palestinians in the region, like they give us so much shit. They like call Arab women sluts. just because we don't want the hijab. They call us so many vulgar shit just for wanting to be Iranian. And it's like the idea that only like you should not have democracy because if you want to have democracy, then you're a white wannabe, right? Like, no, I want democracy. Like, it's so funny you should say, actually, because the first human right declaration was written by Cyrus the Great, the Persian emperor. And like, one thing that you should know is that like when the Persians were conquering the world, they were very, very adamant that they must not push their culture or language on others. And that's why for centuries, all of these countries near Iran, like they had their own languages, their religion, their culture. It was kind of like a federal government, and all of these would be like new satraps or like regions, and the satrap would have its own like ruler appointed from that region, and never like from the Persians, like on top of, like you have to be Persian, you have to like speak our language, you have to like be this. And so like we don't want others to do what we didn't do to them to us. Like maybe if I would read my history and be like, yeah, I forced like someone else to do that, like I might as well do it myself, right? Like maybe I would be okay with that. But like when you read the Iranian history, like in nowhere does it say like you have to be forced to convert to like Zoroastrianism, or like you have to speak like this language, or you have to like do this, or you have to like dress this way.
Yeah, Persian ends up just being like the intellectual language in most of these countries. Like Afghanistan,
yeah,
it still
like
is.
it was what it's called the court language, and that was because it had like a really like it had written grammar, and that is like what makes a language compatible with being a court language. And actually like the Arabic language is or became a court language because of Iranian linguists who wrote the book for the Arabic language grammar. So it's kind of like, like you cannot take our identity out of us. It's been 2000 years. It'll continue to grow, and you cannot like force us to be something that we're not.
So I think theoretically, if it wasn't a theocracy, there wouldn't be as many problems. Is generally the vibe I'm getting. It's mostly the theocratic part that's the issue.
That is definitely an issue, yeah. But also like it goes a lot more, right? Like this current regime is stealing our resources. The people in Baluchistan had a very
they have no
devastating
water anymore, like
they had like such a devastating flooding, and 500,000 people, 500,000 people were displaced. They don't have homes. So many were dead, and the regime's number one concern was to get the voting ballots out of the state to pretend like people went out and voted. They didn't save people, they saved the ballots. And this is a provenance that has like so much natural resources. It doesn't have oil, but it has gold. And technically, they should be one of the richest in Iran, and they are the poorest. And like, and they are exporting our resources and funding terrorism around the world, and then also on top of that funding propaganda that people in the Western leftists go out and they support the Islamic Republic, and we're like, we don't want a war. We've been saying that like from the get-go. We don't want military intervention. We don't want anything. We don't want war. And they're shouting for a war between Iran and Israel. And I'm like, just to have the audacity to expect 87 million Iranian, like a war for a war that you don't have any skin in. Like, you expect my brother, my uncle, my family fighting a war that we don't want just because you're so full of hate and you believe in so much fucking propaganda that you believe this Islamic Republic is a moral government. I've literally had people say, after their failed attempt at bombing Israel, they were like, now the Islamic Republic showed what a moral army looks like. This is what a moral army looks like. Killing, giving a death sentence to a rapper just for calling for unity between people. That's what it looks like. And people like Hassan's uncle go out and say, well, the reason why they shut down an airplane wasn't because they wanted to. It was just because they're stupid. Like, no, it was so deliberate. There was one single passenger that they did not allow board the plane. Actually, like, they pulled him out of the plane. He had boarded. They pulled him out of the plane because they knew exactly what they're gonna do. And you're sitting there telling me that they're just stupid? Like, the morality police just goes out and like beats girls and women and kidnaps them because they're stupid? Or they're moral? Like, in what world?
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure Iran is up there at the top level of countries that executes people. So yeah, I don't think a moral country is going to be a mass country with
It
mass
is the highest per capita. So China has a higher number, but it's because they also have a higher population. Iran has the highest per capita of executions, and it's just going higher and higher.
Yes. Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that was brought up because I was pretty sure that that was a statistic. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that.
تهمت‌های البته همراه با لومپنیز که میگن اعتراف کرده کیا رو لو داده. آخه من کیو داشتم که لو بدم؟ اولا چی رو اعتراف بکنم؟ من که همه چیزم توی همین گوشی‌ها بوده دیگه، چیزی که پنهان نداشتم که بخوام اعترافش بکنم. دو، براشون رپ که نخوندم، که کاری که میتونستم بکنم فقط همینی که براشون رپ بخونم دیگه، که اون کارم که مشخصا نکردم. و عوامل تهیه موسیقیم هم هیچ کدوم دستگیر نشدن بعد از من، حالا یا قبل از من البته. نه کارگردان، نه آهنگساز، نه کسی دیگه، نه بچه‌ای که کاور کار میکردن، نه هیچ کسی دیگه. و من خیلی شکنجه شدم اون موقع بازداشت. دست و پای منو شکوندن، یعنی تو صورتم و سرم خیلی ضربه می‌زدن. سعی می‌کردم اول با دستام جلوی ضرباتو بگیرم که انگشتام میشکستن و بعد دیگه خیلی چیز حالا تعریف کردنی نیست، جالب نیست، ولی خیلی تایمش هم خیلی طولانی بود. یکی از بچه‌های سیاسی به من گفت که احتمالاً اون چیزی که توی گردنت زدن آدرنالین بوده برای اینکه بیهوش نشی و اون تایم شکنجه رو، اون زمانی که شکنجت میکنن همش بیهوش باشی و درد رو تا اوجش تحمل کنی. و این در مورد اعتراف که من پیجم ندادم دیگه. همین روز آخر هم ساعت خانواده من ساعت 9:10 صبح منتظر آزادی من بودن. اولا که از پنجشنبه آزادم نکردن تا شنبه. این طبق قوانین خود جمهوری اسلامیه که بیشتر از 1 سال نمیتونستم منو بازداشت موقت نگه دارم. و همون 6 سالی هم که باز طبق قوانینی که
Is it a year without charge? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
wild. Like, I thought Japan was bad with a month. Like, fucking hell.
And imagine it was on hefty bail. It wasn't just like, yeah, so we kind of like are breaking our own law. They were like, no, they're yeah.
Above it, yeah.
غیر قانونیه و البته وقتی ما در مورد قانون خودشون باهاشون صحبت میکردیم میخندیدن که چی میگی و قانون چی میگی و ما میتونیم فلان کار میکنیم. در هر صورت آره و اون روز آخرم که روز شنبه که من آزاد شدم از صبح تا فکر کنم 4-5 ساعت فکر میکنم برده بودم پیش آقای براتی اومده بود قاضی پروندم و اون آقای اون اطلاعاتی که فکر کنم نمیدونم حالش کار است ولی خب کارشناس پرونده من یعنی بالاترین فکر کنم باشه توی پرونده من در واقع همونی که دستور شکنجه من داده بود اومده بودن و صحبت میکردیم که پیج تو بهمون بده و حالا من نمیخوام یه حالتی باشه که داستان تعریف کنم ولی خب یه چند ساعتی اونجا صحبت داشتیم که منم میگفتم همینجا میمونم توی زندان ولی پیجم رو به شما نمیدم. الانم راستی بچه‌ها صفحات من هنوز دست خودم نیستن دست نگینم یکی از کسایی بود مثل خود شما که مدام فکر کنم راستش بیشتر از همه آدما یعنی در حد پدرم تلاش کرد برای من برای آزادی من و وقتی نبودم هم خیلی اتفاق افتاده خیلی اومدن از طرف من صحبت کردن گفتن اقوام من هستن باز من یه پیغام فرستادم بیرون که من خانواده‌ای به جز هوادارم ندارم قرار بوده کسی رو معرفی کنم که خودم قبل از اینکه بازداشتم نگین رو معرفی کردم خودم قبل از اینکه بازداشت بشم آقای رئیسیان رو به عنوان وکیل انتخاب کرده بودم و فکر نکنم نکته دیگه باشه من نمیخوام زیادی گویی کنم در مورد اینکه کسی که ناراحتم من سالمم اومدم بیرون اگه 4 ماه پیش که من از اطلاعات می اومدم
It's kind of like a pencil that's a gun.
Ah, interesting.
Oh, so
Yeah, so
I mean that's actually like one of the things we're counting
cool
on is that like words are bullets. Like that's like one of the ideas we founded 5th Gen on.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
زندان اگه اون موقع می اومدم بیرون خب مسلماً این حرفو نمیزدم و شکستگی‌های استخوان‌های من مال 1 سال و 1 ماه پیشه طبیعتاً جوش خوردن تمام استخوان‌هام حالا یه سریشون کج شدن اونقدر اذیت نمی‌کنن ولی خب بعضی وقتا تو راه رفتن متاسفانه درد میگیره میلنگم یا دستم توی ورزش اذیتم میکنه و این چند روزم رفتیم ام‌آرآی و رادیولوژی عکس گرفتیم و کارهای دندونام هم این چند روز دارم انجام میدم دندونام هم درست کنم و همین دیگه ایرادی هم نداره چیز ناراحت کننده یا امیدوارم نباشه برای شما اذیتتون نکنم با این حالا دارم در مورد این چیزا صحبت کنم
I don't know how he's so chill about everything.
That's
crazy.
It's like you know that's how messiahs are, you know, like the Nelson Mandela figures. That's how they are.
You make a pretty good point, honestly.
Like if you read the book Shahnameh, which is kind of a fictionalized retelling of the Iranian history, and it's the book that's single-handedly responsible for keeping the Persian language alive after the Arab invasions.
Okay.
We have a lot of like, so it's called the Book of Kings, but the kings are not the real characters, and the heroes are. And it's so funny, like you read them and you're like, yeah, it's fiction, and then you watch too much and you're like, holy fuck, like people like that really exist.
جراحی کنم احتمالاً توی هفته آینده یا شاید هفته بعد
very rare
کنم دستمو جراحی کنم و بعدم برمیگردم به احتمالاً اون چیزی که اون کاراکتری که خودم میخواستم. و همین. بازم میخوام تشکر کنم یه بار دیگه ازتون. دمتون گرم، قوت قلبید برامون. امیدوارم که روزای خیلی خوبی برسه برامون. حالا شاید زمان ببره، ولی من اعتقاد دارم که بهش دست پیدا میکنیم و فکر میکنم یه ایران خیلی خوب و خفن بسازیم. دمتون گرم بچه‌ها، خیلی دوستتون دارم. ببخشید بابت هر ناراحتی که براتون ایجاد کردم. خوب شد قبل از خدافظی من اینو یادم اومد. یه ویدیو من تازه دیدم پخش شده از من، یعنی توی یه ویدیوی ساخت اطلاعات. پس یه نکته دیگه رو هم در مورد اطلاعات اضافه می‌کنم بعدش. یه ویدیو اطلاعات از من ساخته پخش کرده، دارن بازجویی میکنن. من به اون جوریه که به نظر میسه من به اون بازجویه دارم میگم
Oh, that's awesome. He's just straight up like, this video is horse shit. So that right there is what did it, I'm assuming?
So he did actually post when he was arrested again. He did send out like letters through his, like lawyer and whatnot, and he retells the drive to the unclosed location, and even they are saying like, what am I to charge him with? Like, from this 14-minute video, like what can I charge him with? Like, there is nothing here. I have the whole thing here. So they take away his blindfold, and now he's looking into the camera. No one has physically assaulted you, right? It's what they're asking. Him calmly pulled my hands beside my left eye, looked at my hands and looked at them again, and smirked and replied, "Then where's this blood coming from?" Haji, a person who was working there, it goes like, "Haji, look, the news is already circulating. It hasn't even been 3 minutes." They ask him, "Who spread the news?" "I don't know." "Who was with you?" "I don't know." "We can't take I don't know for an answer. Answer correctly. Where is Ashkan?" "I don't know." "You don't know? Didn't you come with Ashkan?" "Answer. Where is Ashkan?" You don't say?" "No." "Now we'll see if you will answer or not. And then the other person is like, "Haji, their hiding spot." And he says, "You're sitting in front of a restaurant. What do you mean by the hiding spot?" And then the person in charge again asks, "Where were you last night?" He says, "Home." "Where is home?" "I don't know." "You're getting on my nerves. Are you a homebody?" Thanks to my family, I didn't grow up in a bar." That is kind of like a Persian thing that we say. It's like, yeah, like there's rules in, like, we love home, like we say home. The person again goes, "You're getting on my nerves. Sorry, what do you mean?" And then he says, "I would explain if I saw the need." Why did you say you were tortured?" Why did you say we tortured you?" He says, "You? I said your colleagues did. I don't know you." "What is your phone password?" "I don't know." "No, you don't want to cooperate." "No." What's the color of your clothes?" "I don't know." The person working there goes, "Haji, leave it be. Let's go to the station." The person in charge says, "Don't worry, we have a lot to do with you." He says, "I'm not worried. I wasn't worried." And then he just says it, like, besides not telling them, but just in retelling of the memories. "I wasn't worried. I was surprised. They really got to throw a hurt at me whenever they wish, and there is no one to stop them. It was only 12 days since I was released. I had just bought new clothes and wanted to rent a place. I was just writing new material, and I just had I had an appointment for a surgery in 3 days. Damn you. The person working there says, Haji, is it possible to order the breaking of their hiding spots door, or do we need to wait for a locksmith? The person in charge says no entry order and the inspection order is written. Only a proxy order to arrest and transfer to Isfahan. And then in the retelling it says, but they had brought a locksmith and messed up my helm and even taken my friend's electronics. The person in charge says, it says here, spreading lies and propaganda against the system, but there is no evidence. What am I to charge them with? Only the 14-minute video? The person working there says, it's the order of Isfahan's prosecutor. There is also a report from Isfahan's intelligence. Yes, I see, but no evidence was sent to me to explain the accusation according to them. And then he in the retelling says no evidence were sent over because no evidence exists. Only a few communications and that's all. Transfer to Qom and delivery to Isfahan's intelligence. And then the person in charge says, are they them who tortured you? He looks and says, yes, and now you and your team are torturing me, and you and your team are turning me into them. That was it.
So
he was arrested in a different city. He was transferred to Qom. The charges were supposed to be for spreading propaganda against the system, and this video is what they're talking about.
Okay.
And the order came from the intelligence office.
اول از شما معذرت
How to feel about that? That's why is there no international pressure on stuff like this?
So
good question.
There are some European parliament members who are his political sponsors, and that's all we have. There is just, everyone's so concerned about the war, and I mean, I'm not saying that no one should be concerned about that, but like this is also important, and it's the same regime, behind everything.
Yes.
And like as I mentioned before about like the war that we were talking about, like us Iranians are the number one victims of the regime, right? Like the regime sent 300 drones to Israel, killed Iranians in Iran. It literally 2 of them misfired, hit homes in Iran and killed them.
You don't hear about that though, do we?
No, it's like, and even if you do, like people are like, well, fuck Iranians.
Yeah, it's
everyone supports the regime because they have
I'm just letting up the chinchilla because he was being annoying and loud. But the whole thing, the way they frame those missiles and the drones is they say, "Oh, the only casualty was they injured a Bedouin girl," and it's like, what do you mean the only casualty? You mean in Israel? Like there was casualties.
Yeah. There were casualties in Iran. It's so funny. People were saying that after Qasem Soleimani's jubilant death, the regime brought a lot of like its supporters to like pretend like they're all mourning, and they got up a little like a stage that they had made, and 70 people died mourning that guy because of the infrastructure that they had created. And people were like, well, why send 300 drones and kill no one in Israel? You could have just sent your fucking infrastructure that kills
infrastructure deaths.
I mean, realistically, and this is just, as soon as I saw, like, I woke up, I saw Iran attacks Israel, saw the video, I'm like, oh, so Iran did nothing.
You know who
They
does
just-
cover
they
this?
just-
I'm pretty sure Democracy Now! Has been covering this.
So
haven't seen
another thing
them
is
do
that,
that.
like, the Islamic Republic does all of these to show its like 5,000 remaining supporters in Iran that like, and obviously like the world, they're like, look how strong we are, right? It's a lot of just like trying to keep its supporters not guessing or like not overthinking. And a lot of people are saying like, a lot of people are like, okay, we need to go out in the streets because this life sentence is not for Iranians, it's for the Islamic Republic's supporters. Because he was such a like important figure in the movement, and all of the supporters were like really trying to badmouth him, really were like, they were like, so this is the hero you guys were talking about? He's such a like phony or like so like weak or whatever, you know, whatever they say. And the regime really wants to show its supporters like, look, we got him, you know? That's one thing. Another thing is that like, and I say like this guy has like balls of steel. He put out 2 songs when he was in prison. One of them was in that 1 year. The other one, I think he recorded it in like the 12th day that he was out, and he put it out when he was in prison. And it's literally like, it's the first one is like really just like thanking people, and the second one is like, yeah, there are like artists who pretend to care about the regime, but they're just literally getting paid. And it's nothing too bad, but it's the way that he says it that you're like, holy fuck, this guy has balls. And
yeah, he says it plainly. It's not jumping around or skirting the
yeah,
question or alluding to it. He's just like, fuck these guys.
his literally like, these are propagandas,
Mm.
and they're being ordered from the intelligence office and this office and that office. That's like literally the song. And like, as much as like we love it, right, we were also like, just like, I remember like listening to it crying, because you're not gonna get away with this, right? Like, it's not the regime to like, it's not like America, they can say fuck the police and
And arm themselves.
yeah, it's different. It's very different.
Yeah, like in Syria, just like spending the amount of time I did there, and just whenever like the same type of lefties want to fucking act like Assad is like in the what do they fucking call it? The axis of resistance or something. Which is like, why would you call it the axis if all things?
Because
cringe.
Fascists be fascists, right? Like,
yeah, I can't resist it.
Like, you can call it resistance, but you also have to like like
resisting liberalism with fascism,
right? And it's so like concerning, because like us Iranians and Syrians and Kurds and so many other people, Yemenis, we're like literally trying to speak up, and we're like, look, this regime and these like terrorists that you guys are supporting are not it. And a very like great Yemeni activist that I follow. She literally had someone tell her, if you don't shut up about this regimes, we would stop supporting you guys, like the Yemeni people.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Kate from the UK is threatening me to to stop listening to Yemenis and Iranians if we speak out against the violent and anti-Semitism that is occurring around the world.
Seems very balanced and sane people. You definitely listen to them and not disregard them entirely. Psychos.
I mean, they are literally the majority right now, right?
Well, it's like the person that I've shared on my story the other day, their comment. It's like, oh, I put 2 comments, they see 1 and suddenly I'm an Israeli agent. Grow up.
Yeah, no, like it's so funny. Like
Dickheads.
I get called a Zionist all the time, and I feel like the word Zionist has really lost its meaning, because like if you say it's like Jewish people around the world are not the Israeli government, you're a Zionist at this point, right? Like you're a Zionist. And like if I say as an Iranian, I don't want war with Israel between Iran and, I'm a Zionist. That is just like Zionist. And I'm like, okay, like at this point, go ahead and call me a Zionist, because it means nothing at this point. You could just call me an asshole. You could call me anything else. Like that word is so meaningless at this point.
I mean, you've heard, if you watch the show enough, that I say this a lot. Like I've basically I stopped using the word Zionist.
Yeah,
it's just not a productive word. That's why I'm also against left and right and all these things, and like even liberal, like, and like I just call everything commie as a joke and say commie because it's funny to say commie. Like I'm just so done with all of it.
No, it's like it's you're right. Like everything's so meaningless now, right? Like it's like you just can like call anything something else and it would just like, it just like it's lost all its meaning. It's not the threat people think it is. Like I get it. The Israeli government sucks ass, right? It's like a right-wing fascist government. But that doesn't mean a 2-year-old Israeli needs to be killed. And if that makes me a Zionist, so be it. Like, I don't care.
That 2-year-old is a settler.
If a 2-year-old is a settler and, that makes, and me saying it's not a settler, that makes me a Zionist, I want to be a Zionist. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like a 2-year-old. Like, it doesn't matter which side of this border it is. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, the rape of a woman is justifiable.
Exactly.
I'm not going to say
I did a lot of the reporting on the
just
attack.
because I don't care that border separates these 2 women. Like, okay, I want to be a Zionist. Sorry.
I did a lot of reporting on the attack.
And be like, rape is resistance, and like killing a 2-year-old is resistance, and
yeah,
a 2-year-old who is born and raised in that. And by the way, that was that's not the settlements. That's like the pre-war.
Yeah, that's what this is like one of the things I bring up in all our specials. That
like
these like
you want
the
to call
are
settlements,
like
go
totally different.
There are actual settlements in Palestine. Go tell them, why come kill a 2-year-old in the actual borders? Like, it's like you do not want a resolution if you absolutely and wholeheartedly want all of Israel wiped out. Like, I'm sorry. It's like, it's literally what the Israeli government wants, right? Like, just because it's reverse, it's no better. It's the opposite side of the same exact coin.
Okay,
and if that makes me a Zionist, so be it. Like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I'm not a Zionist. If like what I'm saying, that a 2-year-old is not a settler, Like,
Yeah.
so be it. Like, I don't care anymore, to be honest. Like,
All you
I
gotta
don't
do is them.
care
That's it.
anymore in this situation.
Yeah, that's what I
I
mean.
don't
That's what I
care
do.
to like. I don't care to blame a Jewish person who was born and raised in America and has never stepped foot in Israel. If I'm not gonna like, you know, blame them for what the government is doing there, and that makes me a Zionist, so be it. I don't give a shit.
But also at the same point, why, if you don't blame them for their government, why should they blame you for yours? That's also the other thing, is like just have the same standards. Just it's not that hard to not contradict yourself. It really isn't. Which is going back to what you were saying, is like every time people are like, oh, what's your position on this? I'm like, which side is the side that stands with whoever the people are? I don't give a shit what the
Exactly.
state has to say. I don't give a shit what the state's purpose is. If people are getting harmed in the goals of the state, then I'm against whatever those actions are.
That is such a good thing to say, because like it doesn't matter which side of this, like these two sides are, it's kind of like a crisscross, right? Like they're both attacking the people under these groups. None of them are
Yeah.
being like
I
attacking.
mean, I really don't know which of these
the
Nazis
same
to support.
person.
They're both pretty good options.
I would never say that, by the way.
Also, like
That quote, that soundbite is literally
Yeah,
from
well.
a video about who to take the side with. It's like a joke
Yeah.
video, who to side with, like Netanyahu or Hamas.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like the Islamic Republic or fucking Israel. Like there is no good side to pick.
Like
Pick whichever side
side
stops
with
the
the
most
people.
deaths.
Like literally, people are building bridges, right? People are literally coming together saying, despite our regime, we support you, right? Like Iranians are doing with Israelis, Israelis are doing with Iranians, Iranians are trying to do that with Palestinians, and everyone just like ignores that and is like, no, I want to side with one of these governments. Like,
Yeah,
are
they
you
side they side with whichever side they get told to side with, because they listen to people on the internet instead of forming their own opinions. That's the
and like
problem. Is
instead of like
they just
listening to
it's the
people
first thing they
who,
get told.
yeah, and
That's the
it's
problem.
not like, it's funny, like all of the panels that I've heard about like why Islamic Republic should start a war with Israel, like not a single Iranian is on those panels.
Oh, it's always the case.
Like
Which is
it's
half
always
the reason we
Hassan's
started
uncle. Like
the
it's
Yeah, I
LTAP
mean,
always
stuff,
look
right?
at
Hassan's
look
fucking
at us
uncle there.
already. Just like the people we pull in as sources for videos and stuff.
Like it's literally everything we wanted to do was pulling people who don't get talked to on actual like corporate press. Like fuck those people. I don't give a shit about some white dude from a fucking university in a tie. Fuck off. Let me talk to someone from the area, from the
Yeah,
place,
no,
someone who
it's
has
like
ties to the place. That's who I want to hear from. I don't give a shit
there
about
is
some
a
talking
really
head.
good video of the only non-Iranian who actually has been like involved from the beginning of the movement. It's they are actually their name is Chelsea Hart, and they just put out this video today. I'm gonna send it to you,
Oh,
Jack.
you sent me that one already.
Okay, yeah,
I
if you
think
could play that one as well.
I'll find it.
Anyway, when I was first reporting on October 7th, because I like when it happened, I was like I was like not posting the videos, but I would share them from other accounts, being like, don't ignore the caption on the thing below me. I'm only sharing this because I don't want my account deleted. And that's what I've done for like any type of like war crime and massacre that I want to post about. And like
That's a good way to do it.
Because I was like being accurate and reporting on things how they were actually happening, a bunch of like super Zionists started following me, thinking I was on the side of Israel just because I was reporting that Hamas killed people.
Yeah, and it's like it's so sad that like there's such a divide that like if you're saying one group is being killed, you know, like it just isn't that
If you
madness? I don't know.
Yeah. Crazy. Like, just the fact that people can rationalize the
Death
deaths
of
of
the
some
other
people
people, yeah.
and then victimize the deaths of others simultaneously is fucking wild.
Like, it's literally the same argument. It's the same argument, names reversed.
Mhm.
And if that argument works for you with one, you know, with one pair of names, like, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like, has anyone thought about calling this? We should call them whites. Yeah, we really. That's such a smart idea, to be
I
honest.
mean, think about it. Think about it. Well, think about it. We can totally say it's France, right? That totally works.
They are like, so, and again, this is like something that I've said before, but like literally, CIA, France, and MI6 are the reason why the Islamic Republic is there in the first place. Shah raised the price of oil. It was time for him to go. He said way too many truths that he shouldn't have. He didn't have a filter. He said it and he shouldn't have said it. And it was time for him to go. And if you're stupid enough to sit
He
around
also was
like
dying of
pretend
cancer.
like these regimes are anti-imperialist just because they look like garbage, they look like someone shut them out of their fucking diarrhea, like just because they look like crap, you think they cannot be
Well, they clearly don't have
imperialist?
capitalism.
Like your brain has some issues. Go get an MRI. Because if this, like, it's
People
so
have
funny.
like worms in your brain, honestly.
There was this like video, there was this like meme of a Japanese and a Irish guy, and the caption said like only one of them is a colonialist imperialist, and like everyone in the comment were like the white one, the white one. I'm like, oh no. No.
Historical ignorance.
It's not. They are white, but that doesn't make them just. It's so messed up. Like how people are so stupid. But let's listen to this because they are like what they say. It's actually like.
Well, I have a quote to basically describe exactly what you're talking about people being able to rationalize deaths on one side but victimize them on the other. Is the nationalist not only does not approve of atrocities committed by his own side, but has a remarkable capacity for not even hearing about them.
Who said that, Jack?
Who said that? Who do you reckon? It's Orwell. The great quote. It's a great quote. Come on. It's a good quote. It's a good quote. It's true. It is very, very true.
You guys don't like Orwell?
He doesn't like Orwell.
No, it's just a meme. It's a meme that all these people don't read 1984, and that the concepts presented in 1984 aren't as accurate as people hold them up to be.
They're
like
outdated.
the whole imagery of an army needing to go to war because they have too much money is very silly.
But the general idea is that it's outdated.
Like they go to war because war makes them money.
He says that that's basically like sinking a ship off the coast. They sink the treasure. Like that's the whole but you have to think about it. You just had World War I and II. You have to rationalize yourself in the world that Orwell is in at the time.
Yes, exactly.
Right? So like World War I and II weren't profitable. It was like that. We had all this prosperity. Everything was going so good. And then all of a sudden somebody's invading Poland. Why? Right.
You also have to understand that Orwell was a socialist himself, saw what the tankies did and what the fascists did, which is why I kind of like his unique sort of middle perspective.
It's not so much not liking Orwell; it's hating everyone that likes Orwell.
Thank you. I'm glad to be hated by you, but honestly, like
that figuratively, because you know how people
think
get
about
with it.
if Hakeem doesn't like someone, then you probably should like
Yeah,
him. And
that's
Hakeem
actually a
really
very good
dislikes him.
argument. That's
That
a
But
is a
very good
very
Hakeem
argument.
constantly is like, Orwell was not a communist. I'm like,
Bro, he fought
it just wasn't a
in
fucking.
the Spanish Civil War. That's like
Yeah.
basic shit.
And then he saw
Well, Hakeem
the
doesn't think
fucking
so.
Stalin.
So.
And then he realized what communists are. It was Stalinists, really, because all communists end up
Yeah.
being anarcho-communists anyway, because it's natural.
Well,
Dude took a
care
bullet
about
in the neck fighting fascists. Damn.
Iran, or you have said Iran ever once in your life, or even in the last 6 months, I need you to listen up. A lot of overnight Iran experts just came out of the woodwork in the last few weeks, and I have yet to see a single one of them talk about the person I'm about to talk about now. This is Toomaj Salehi, often called the Tupac of Iran. In October 2022, he gave an interview to a foreign media channel and was swiftly arrested for propaganda against the regime. For the last year and a half, Iranians inside and outside Iran have chanted his name at every single protest trying to call for his release. You see, trials in Iran bear no resemblance to any known judicial process otherwise known in the international world. Kangaroo courts so fake, the regime has been known to hire actors to play the lawyers in the trial. That takes no less than 15 minutes. Now, in the case of Toomaj Salehi, he is particularly high profile. So these legal proceedings, which the regime has obstructed at every turn, have taken the better part of the last year and a half. He has just been sentenced to death. For what, I hear you ask? Literally nothing. He is a musician. Unless you think music should somehow be a crime, in which case maybe you should be locked up with a straitjacket. I cannot describe to you how devastated the Iranian community is.
What's wild to me will be if none of the American rappers say a fucking word about it.
Why would they? They don't know about this shit.
Exactly.
Some of them actually did speak up before. So at the beginning of the women life freedom movement, I think.
Yeah, I saw there's musicians, a lot of musicians for that
A
one.
couple of the rappers did that too, and there are some, not like a whole lot, but I mean the way Hollywood and like the West or the American media is like no Iranians allowed, but there are some Iranians who have a couple connections with like artists here, and we're hoping that the word starts circulating. But a lot of people
Maybe
are
DJ Khaled will say something.
And you made me delete the DJ Khaled soundbite.
Good. Fuck that soundbite. I don't
what
want
does
to
it
hear him
say?
ever again.
It just is him saying life is roadblocks, but it sounds like he's saying life is Roblox.
I'm not gonna make fun of someone's accent because
No, we'll finish this.
Is today. Iranians call Toomaj the son of Iran. And the only thing that will save him is international pressure from you. So what if all the talking heads who got loads to say about Iran a couple weeks ago, what if they all came out of the woodwork again for Toomaj? Cenk Uyghur, I'm looking at you. You had so much to say a couple weeks ago. Where are you now? You care about Iran, right? Owen Jones, you had so much to say about Iran a couple weeks ago. Where are you now? Are you anywhere?
What
do you think, the lizard people are in charge? No. Is that what you think?
That video.
Mehdi Hassan.
Huh?
That video of Junk.
Where are you to be seen for the life of Toomaj Salehi? Bassem Youssef, you had so much to say about Iran a couple weeks ago. Could you say one word for Toomaj? As many as 60,000 Iranians have been forcibly disappeared by this regime since
Nazi
the murder
Santa
of
Claus.
Mahsa Jina Amini. So if you think this video is just about Toomaj, you'd be wrong. If you thought this movement was just about hijab, you'd be wrong. The world had Iran in their mouth just a couple weeks ago.
The world loves fads.
They
love a quick fad.
to hate on Iranians. Honestly, like at this point, I'm like there is no other way. Like it's either like all Islamic republics, propaganda, or everyone just like hates Iranians for some reasons.
Mm. Yeah, it really is unfounded. It's insane. Like every person I've ever met from Iran has been great.
Thank you.
Like
We try.
yet to meet one that hasn't been very lovely.
Actually,
So
I think the only person that would talk, and he has been very vocal about Iran in general, is Aussie Man Reviews. And now that I think about it, we should probably start like.
seriously,
He has been such a great ally.
what the fuck?
I feel like he has a lot of Iranian friends, and that's why like he just knows Iranians because like he just feels very personally
from Sydney?
involved. His like, and it's not only been like this
up where he's
movement,
from.
but like
He's from Perth.
movements that people have not even talked about, like he has talked about.
I'm pretty sure he's from Perth, if I remember correctly.
Are you
think so,
name
yeah.
wanting to Jack? Are you doing the I have a black friend name one to Jack? Is that what's going on?
Yeah,
here?
that's what they're doing.
I'm pretty sure they were
not even
discussing if I could
acknowledging.
read. I'm not sure.
No, they were talking about me again.
Oh,
They're just roasting me today.
I'm the
Apparently.
one who can't read.
I can't find. Whatever. I'm pretty sure he's from Perth.
Okay.
Perth, I was fucking right. Now, let's see.
Play the video while you're looking it up.
Sure.
16-year-olds chanting on the New York subway, "You make us proud, Iran." Prove it. Put your money where your mouth is and say Toomaj Salehi's name. You are free to care at any time that tens of thousands of people in Iran are currently missing. That is how you support Iran.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, 10% in WA, 40% in New South Wales, which I was almost certain was how it was, which is why I asked whether it was from Sydney. And then 27% are in Victoria.
Are you looking at his DNA breakdown or something?
No. I'm looking at the breakdown of the Iranian diaspora in Australia.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
sorry. That's what I was
I thought
looking
you were
for. 'Cause
talking
I'm
about
like,
like that's where.
no, because I'm like, where is he
wondering-
from? Because you're like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe he has a lot of Iranian friends. I'm like, oh, maybe he's from Sydney. Because it's for whatever reason, a lot of the Middle Eastern refugees and migrants come here to New
I
South
mean,
Wales.
I think it's like
It's,
one of the biggest cities in.
maybe it's just because Sydney is like the city everyone knows from Australia. Because it's like,
probably
yeah, if you go, oh, what's a city in Australia? It's like Sydney.
Sydney. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like, oh,
I would say
it
that.
has a big house thing that plays
See,
opera.
here's my thing. If there was like one of the grossest, scariest looking spiders I've ever seen in my life, and it only lived in that
Sydney,
in that small proximity, why
Mhm.
of all the places would I develop my main population center where that spider lives?
have you seen the roads of Sydney? They were
I
not
don't think
planned
you
very
can
well.
like literally escape wild stuff anywhere in
Yeah,
Australia.
but the Sydney funnel web is like a notorious spider. It's
pretty cool.
gross. It looks
I'm
disgusting.
pretty
It's
sure
like
like the rest
tarantula,
of
but it's like
Australia has like some
slick.
other crazy stuff.
Yeah, but the Sydney funnel web is just notorious because it's notorious for biting people. But
It's
like
because it lives in
why?
shoes.
They milk them so
It
much.
lives in shoes.
Yeah, so that
yeah.
it's in like suburban Sydney, right? They hide in like they'll hide in like you know the little plastic kids castle things that you get, like little climbing castle things that you can buy from shops,
Yeah.
and they're like plastic. They live in those. They'll live in your shoes. They'll get inside your house and be in your clothes, in like
That's
bean bags if
basically
you've got
everywhere.
them, in your couches. Like, it's fucked. They're not fun. Don't live in Sydney. Also, it's like $1.3 million average house price in Sydney. Don't live in Sydney. Sydney sucks.
I wasn't
Sydney people are
planning on
also
it. Thank
awful.
you.
Definitely not biased.
Do you want to watch the last
Was
couple of minutes of it because that's like the
Yep.
most important parts?
طرف اومده یه میکنم بعدش یه ویدیو اطلاعات حتما ساخته پخش کرده دارن بازجویی میکنن. من به اون جوریه که به نظر میاد من به اون بازجویه دارم میگم اول از شما معذرت میخوام، یه همچین چیزی معذرت میخوام اول از شما، در صورتی که من همچین صحبتی نکردم، با بازجو در واقع نبودم.
ASIO.
9 ساعت من اونجا مصاحبه میکردم و متاسفانه فکر کنم یکی دو تا گاف دادم
Really in
و
Pine Gap.
به این صورت که طرف اومده یه سوالی از من پرسیده، مثلا گفته اگه الان مادر فلانی که به خاطر تو رفت و الان تو زندانه جلوت باشه چی بهش میگی؟ به این صورت بعد کات کردن جوری به نظر رسید که از اون دارم عذرخواهی میکنم که اصلا چیز خیلی خنده‌داریه. اینم از این. در مورد شکنجه هم صحبت نمی‌کنم، خودم راستش خیلی اذیت میشم. من شکایت کردم در رابطه با شکنجه ها. یکی از دلایلم برای شکایت کردن این بود که حقانیت خودم رو ثابت کنم و نگن دروغ میگه، چون اگه دروغ گفته باشم که الان اونا میتونن دوباره از من شکایت کنن به جرم افترا، تهمت زدن. حالا دلایل دیگه هم داشتم به خاطر اون کار، تاثیراتی که به نظر من میتونه بذاره و از رسانه‌هاشون هم شکایت کردم بابت دروغایی که گفتن. یکی اینکه مثلا توماج اعدام داشته چون همکاری موثر کرده، اعدامش شکسته شده 6 سال اعدام. برای چی من چه کار کردم که اعدام داشته باشم؟ تمام کاری که ما کردیم اون موقع این بود که میستادیم در مقابل کسایی که مردم رو شکنجه میکردن، میرفتن تیر میزدن با وینچستر توی دانشگاه و حالا یه سری کارهای دیگه. اصلا نباید منو دستگیر میکردن، حق نداشتن منو دستگیر بکنن. یه چه برسه این که 9 ماه 8 ماه 9 ماه توی انفرادی نگه هم دارن، شکنجه سفید کنن منو و اون اولش هم انقدر شکنجه فیزیکی به من بدن و حالا مسئله در مورد اطلاعات هم می‌خواستم این نکته رو بگم که چرا باید یه ارگان بالاتر از قانون باشه. بالاتر از قانون فقط مردمن که اگه قوانین رو نخوان تغییرش بدن، به خاطر اینکه کشور مال اوناست، اون قوانین باید برای رفاه اونا باشن و به جز مردم که هیچ شخصی یا هیچ ارگانی نباید بالاتر از قانون باشه. اطلاعات هم بالاتر از قانونه توی ایران. اطلاعات شکنجه میکنه، خودم رو میگم شکنجه میکنه، غیرقانونی وارد خونه میشه، تخریب میکنه، حالا خونه رو یا هر چیزی.
I'm surprised he's not more radical, to be completely honest.
What do you mean?
Like, he's very, like, we just need basic rule of law. Like, maybe it's just because it's so far out of pocket that it's just like, just give us
remember what I
normal
was
shit,
just saying,
please.
where people were trying to act like Alex Garland wasn't political because he said centrism is the opposite of extremism.
Yeah.
So in a country like Iran, this isn't radical.
No, actually, so there are a couple of things, right? First of all, he's getting arrested for just this, right? And also his parents were also political activists. He grew up with his mom in prison because his mom was in prison and he was there as a kid with her. And another thing is that he's a leftist. He is very much into supporting the child labor and just like labor unions in Iran. And that's like another thing that's very much in his like music as well. He's talking about like the people. And just like, so I mean, he's not a radical in the sense of like, you know, we need to bomb Israel or we need to bomb like Palestine. Like he's not like that at all. But I don't know if it was after the invasion of Ukraine or if it was after the they shut down the Ukrainian passenger airplane, that in one of his like music videos he has a Ukrainian flag on his arm as well. So he is a radical, right? And this is like, imagine, this is just like his video fresh out of the prison, right? So no, he's not like a radical in the sense that like the Westerns think of like radicalism, that like, you know, we need to bomb so and so. But I would say that he is like the true embodiment of like what I believe the left is, which is supporting the people.
Oh, interesting. I just looked up where he's from. He's like really close to where you said you were from.
Yeah, he's actually Bakhtiari as well, which is like kind of there. So it's the lore, and as I mentioned, my family is also lore. At least half of my family. Yeah. Very based guy. But yeah, sorry.
کسی هم نیست جلوش رو بگیره. اطلاعات میاد به بازپرس، میگه که چه اتهاماتی به من بزنه. بازپرسی که حالا اسم نمیگم کدوم یکی از بازپرسا، بازپرسی که یواشکی میاد به من میگه اینجا رو اینجوری ننویس خالص، بده نمیدونی داری چی می‌نویسی. همون روزهای اول که من اصلا تو حال هزیون بودم، 2 روز من بیهوش بودم بعد اینکه بردنم تو سلول. پس اون بازپرس خودش حالا نمیدونم یا تفکرش سمت ما یا نیست، کاری به این چیزا ندارم، ولی خب بالاخره اراده نداره. چرا بازپرس اراده نداره و اطلاعات باید بهش بگی چه کار کنه چه کار نکنه؟ چرا بازپرس باید از اطلاعات بترسه؟ معاون دادستان چرا باید از اطلاعات بترسه؟ بیاد اونجا با ترس و لرز حال منو بپرسه، غیر مستقیم بپرسه آیا اینجا هم شکنجت میکنن یا نه؟ که البته بچه توی اطلاعات شکنجه فیزیکی نمیکردن، ولی خب شکنجه روحی خیلی زیاد بود که حالا اونم توضیحاتش مفصله. اطلاعات چرا باید بتونه به رئیس زندان دستور بده، بگه این از ما شکایت کرده، شرایطش رو بد کنید توی زندان و ناراحت باشه از اینکه پرسنل زندان با من خوبن، طرفدارای منن 70-80%شون. حالا من همه پرسنل زندان‌های ایران رو که نمیگم، همون چیزایی که خودم دیدم رو دارم میگم.
That was another part that was really not something he should have said, you know, saying that the prison staff and like inside the regime itself, like even if you work, you know, you have some government work job, that you're against the regime, right? Like
what's interesting is last stream I literally said a lot of times if you look at stuff in Iran, it'll always end up being like 70% of like whatever selection you have is anti-regime.
Yeah.
And it's like including inside the regime. There you go. 70% of the guards were, you know, it's that, you know, famous thirds again.
Yeah.
And another thing is that a former police officer who's a refugee, I don't know where in the world, but he posted a video tweet saying that there has been a significant number of suicide amongst the police force in Iran.
I mean, yeah, I don't know I don't know how most people who just choose that path live with themselves, but especially in Iran.
Yeah.
با افتخار من میگم که 70-80% پرسنل زندان طرفدارای من و شما هستن، یعنی از خودمون. و همین به نظرم خیلی نکته مهمیه و باید باش مقابله کنیم که هیچ ارگانی نباید بالاتر از قانون باشه. دمتون گرم. حرف دیگه فعلا نیست. خیلی مخلصم. زمانش که برسه خودم میام پیجامو میگیرم و فعالیت میکنم، ولی خب الان یکم میخوام خودم رو بسازم دوباره و نیاز دارم. امیدوارم به هم فرصتش رو بدید و بابتش ناراحتتون نکنم. خیلی مخلصم. دمتون گرم دوباره. فعلا.
Welcome to the news hour.
Whoops.
And another thing that I wanted to say about like him being a radical, like in his music, he literally calls out the supreme leader. So,
No,
you know.
I just meant like in the speech there, like because this is the thing that he got charged and arrested over. That you'd think it'd be a bit more.
This is what
extreme,
he
right?
got.
Well, the thing is like with us, it's like she's already said, you can just be like death to the state here, and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
Like that is a pretty radical thing to do, and like
telling the truth is a very radical thing to do in Iran and the Islamic Republic.
I also like this definition. He wouldn't say imperial core or proletarian.
Maybe I just didn't do a good job at translating that, but
no, I think it was I understood everything.
No, I'm just making a joke. It just didn't came out. Like I know when you explain the joke is no longer funny, but basically that's where we are right now. There are three petitions to sign. There are emails you can send. There are pre-written emails, and there's a list of
Well, if you send them in the private chat, and I'll send them in the comments, and I'll put them on screen.
Yeah, I will do that.
That'll
what
be
else?
easiest. That way, people can pause and do whatever.
And if anyone's on Twitter, just like putting the hashtag #FreeToomaj, that's very helpful. One video that I would really like to play, and I can shut up and leave after that. It's I think it was a wrestling champion, Navid Afkari, either boxing or wrestling, and he was also arrested in the Bloody November, which was in 2019. People rushed out, and 1,500 people, so 1,500 people, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe 15,000 people. I don't know, 1,500 or 1,000, I can't remember, but were shot in a week, and killed in like the 1 week, and there was complete internet shutdown. And so he and his him and his brother were arrested, and they were charged with killing one of the guards, and he was like, no, I didn't. But under torture, he confessed, which is like a lot of forced confessions that are very common in Iran. And also, like, a lot of these forced confessions are like, if you confess, like, you get a lighter sentence, and he got the death sentence. And we tried so hard. That's the one. But like in 3 minutes in, I think it's like 30 seconds in, it's where his like speech comes in, and like it's something that like us Iranians have to listen to every couple seconds because of the way he's like literally pleading. He was talking to, I think, his lawyer from prison, and that's where the recording comes from.
Okay. God, that's loud.
Yeah, you can just...
All right, that'll be fine. I don't think. Wait.
Is it playing? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just really conscious about music because they'll take down the entire stream.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Honestly, and like the video will go black and he'll start speaking. So
you probably can't even read that.
Yeah, it's fine even if they can't, because it's
that's
just,
like
we can't fast forward on Instagram.
نه دادگاهی صدای ما رو شنید و نه اصلا قاضی و مسئول دادخواهی وجود داشت. روی صحبت من فقط با ایران نیست. مخاطب
So it says, I'm only addressing Iranians. I'm addressing any person out there who believes in humanity and is honorable.
من هر آدمی که دم از انسانیت میزنه و ذره از شرافت توی وجودش هست. تو سکوت شما یعنی حمایت از ظلم و
Your silence means you're supporting the oppressors and oppression.
یعنی حمایت از اعدام شدن
It
یک
means
بیگناه.
supporting the execution of innocent
همه
people.
مدارکی که جمع کردیم و مطالب
If I'm executed, everyone should know that in the 21st century, despite all the funding and all the humanitarian organization like UN and Security
که دارم
Council,
میگم برای اینه که اگر من اعدام شدم همه بدونن تو قرن 21 با این همه هزینه و سازوکارهای حقوق بشری و سازمان ملل و شورای امنیت و غیره که انسان
an innocent person was executed
بیگناه در
even
حالی که با
though
تمام توانش
he did all he could to fight and have his voice heard.
تلاش کرده جنگی.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So what, he
The
was
videos.
27.
Yeah, he was 27. His brother's still in prison. In the 2022 movement, the Women Life Freedom Movement, his sister and his niece, which was I think 3 years old, were arrested. And then his brother-in-law was arrested as well. So basically the entire family. But yeah, that's like literally our plea, just like hashtag free Toomaj, and just because there is no like no one's here just like advocating for Iranians, and it's only us Iranians, and there's just so much we can do, especially with like all of these like the news out there, that this just doesn't get any attention at all at this point.
I mean, Iran is definitely one of the countries that we're going to look to try and get contacts in first. I think that's definitely one of the ones.
We already have Pegah here. You know,
the problem is
more
that
for like the phone thing that we want to do.
The problem in Iran is that people get sentenced to death for like so much less than communicating with people outside, that it's like a real risk issue. But I'm here. I'm just echoing the voices of
that's why you work with agents.
Are there agents? Like,
no, you would be the agent.
Oh yeah.
Like agent actually comes from like, it's a British colonial type term as well. So like like Fatah in Pakistan, Jack, right? So they would like the Trail of Tears, right? So they would assign an agent, and then that agent would agree to basically give the land over to the white people, right?
Yeah.
So it's like an agent that's an intermediate between like these two things, but it like comes from those terms, and that's how the British did stuff. That like the whole reason like India and like Gandhi comes up the way that they do is because they're like, they'll always like, you motherfucker, my chinchilla escaped.
Yeah, they're like agents of the crown and shit.
Yeah,
it's like a common term that's used. Like, it literally is just advocating for that. So, any sort of advocacy, whether paid or not, is being an agent for if you are spreading their propaganda. So theoretically,
I'm not spreading propaganda, by the way. I'm just spreading the voices of people in Iran.
Propaganda. These are like the tribal agents.
No, I'm just trying to like put it out there, because another thing is like like I always have to like make sure that I'm correcting people saying Islamic Republic, not Iran. Like if you're talking about Iran, you can say Iranian, but if you're talking about the regime, like please use their official name that they themselves chose, right? Like, and it's so funny. I get like called a Islamophobe for saying that, and I'm like, if you have an issue with the crimes they're committing, then be vocal about that. Don't try to shut the people who are being oppressed by them.
And this is why I just tell people that if someone just accuses you of something, just ignore them completely, because it's literally just an attempt to shout you down. Like, just don't give in to them and just keep talking. They'll walk away, or they'll get frustrated and let their mask slip. Like, it's not that hard to do. You just have to let them talk.
Iranian intelligence after putting a pair of pillars on a guy's nut. Wow, he confessed to a crime. That's literally it. I would love to show you this video. We were watching a Iranian program. It's like a game show.
Okay.
And in the middle of it, there was they thought one of the teams were cheating, right? And this is like not even live TV. This is like something pre-filmed.
You can come on Instagram.
And the way I'm gonna have to like share it with you because I had to like screen record it. And
you should. Is it on your computer? Because you could be able to screen share it.
Unfortunately, it's on my phone. Let me see if I can find it. In the here. It's on Instagram. I'm sorry if that's not the best way, but
No, it's fine.
The host literally brings the guy sitting in the audience and he's like, confess, because we have the video and we'll show that you were cheating. And I felt sick to my stomach, right? Like, and I was telling my mom, I was like, Mom, this is like the type of like this is a school in Iran. And then she said, and this is the judiciary system in Iran as well. And imagine this is right in front of TV, and imagine like how they act if there's like no cameras around. It's not unfortunately subtitled, but it's like you probably can like see just like the way they're just like acting. It's so unsettling. And again, this is like a pre-filmed game show, and they were literally treating this guy like a criminal. And just like imagine how it is just like for people they actually want to, charge with a crime.
Yeah. I'm just putting all the links into the YouTube. Give me one minute. That's fine. Google is great. Formatting is excellent. I don't know how to do hyperlinks on StreamYard, so you guys are just gonna have to figure that one out. I just gotta figure it out.
No idea.
Yeah, no, I'm just changing everything up. I'm also trying to figure out which part of the URL I can cut from, so that one doesn't have the tracker thing. Two,
oh, got it.
Is just the raw link, so it doesn't take up as much space. But we'll be back soon. Check if that video's come through yet. And John is off chasing a rat.
That's a chinchilla.
Yeah, it's a big rat.
Well, they are very special. Like their fur. It sounds like I want to like skin one, but I just mean like they're very different and special is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, well, I cannot add those to that, so John can deal with that later. That's cool.
Aw, look.
I will send to private chat. John, add those.
I got him. I win.
Oh, what a cutie.
One. John, you need to add these to the YouTube or some shit.
What?
Do something. You need to add these to the YouTube. I'm sending them in private chat because I can't because it's already live. Why does it do that? Oh no, there's 2 links there. Anyway,
What are they?
I think we're done with the Iranian stuff. If you need to go, if there's anything else you want to say,
What am I?
last up, go for it.
What
Don't
am I
worry.
adding? What am I doing?
Nothing. Don't worry.
Okay.
Okay, but thank you so much again. And please just use the hashtag, and that's like literally all we're asking. And if you guys get the chance to, fill the emails, there's like already all the addresses and the emails to be sent, and yeah, thank you.
Yep. I've sent them all to John, and they should be uploaded soon. And then once, Jesus Christ, I hate StreamYard's chat.
Thank you so
Once
much.
they are
Very
up,
much.
I will also post them under. I will retweet the stream link, and I will put them under that too.
All right. Sorry, I was reading something else.
On Twitter. No, I'll post them on Twitter as well. That's
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
no worries. All right.
Day.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Cool. Bye.
Okay, there are a few things that I feel like I need to add context to. So Toomaj Salehi and a lot of the protesters got the death sentence in Iran. This is while the majority of femicides and even homicides go without a death sentence. And let me explain. So the majority of femicide falls under what's considered a honor killing. So basically the regime says, well, if you weren't to kill them, I would. A man, basically father, grandfather, uncle, brother, husband, I think even cousins, have total rights to kill a woman for dishonoring Islam and therefore the family. So that goes from anything from the girl talking to a man, to having boyfriends, refusing to be a child bride, just basically anything. And that is true for, of course, the male members of the LGBTQ, because that's also dishonoring Islam and therefore they deserve to die. And for homicide also, as long as the victim's family do not want the perpetrator to receive the death sentence, therefore they will not receive the death sentence. So a lot of the families don't want to, they do want justice for their loved ones, but that justice does not mean just another life taken, so a lot of the families actually they refuse the death sentence, and therefore there has been like a triple homicide case with 2 perpetrators. They got 10 and 13 respectively. So basically, as long as you don't want the death penalty as the family of the victim, the person committing the act will not be put to death. This is not the case for the protesters. The protesters are usually charged with what's considered corruption on earth and waging war against God. And that is basically being against the regime, because to them, the Ayatollah is appointed by the government by God. And if you don't like his government, therefore you don't like God. And so that is an automatic death sentence. Being a member of the LGBTQ family as well, it's a automatic death sentence, because again, corruption on earth and whatever. Same goes for if you refuse to be a Muslim. and a lot of the times the protesters get charged with murder, actually, which is not true. They get accused of killing one of the guards, which is, again, not true. And it's funny because the majority, as I mentioned, a lot of the normal homicide cases, the families of the victim do not go for the, death penalty. And for some reasons, all of these, fake killing of the guard always have the death penalty. And again, these are sham and kangaroo trials in courts, so it's not a real court. The trial usually takes about like 15 minutes, and that's about it. Another thing that I really want to add is that I am appalled by what I'm seeing in America and the brutal crackdown of the police on the protesters on the American campuses, and I don't agree with that whatsoever. But, and this is a huge but, I also believe that when we're talking about the actions of the American police, we really, really, really have to be mindful not to try and draw parallels between Iran and America, and like how brutal the Iranian regime is versus like, the American. I'm not okay with the American government. I don't think they're, I don't like them as an institution. But again, this is really important. Freedom of speech and freedom of assembly are protected rights in the American Constitution. So if a state, if a state violates these rights, you can actually take him to court. Of course, the system's not perfect and there's a lot of improvements to be done, but the Islamic Republic's constitution does not protect your right to speech, or your freedom to speech, or your right to protest. So that's very important. Again, even if we're talking about like the sheer numbers, about 60,000 protesters were arrested during the Women Life Freedom protest at the height of it in like 2022. And like the sheer numbers, we're just talking about sheer numbers. And also the death tolls usually, so for the Bloody November, in 1 week we had 1,500 casualties, like actual death. And again, I'm not saying the American police is a saint, it's not, but just like comparing the sheer numbers, and the Iranian population is 1/6 of the American population, and these numbers are extremely high. So just like comparing the two, it's very immoral. And that's all I needed to add to this. And thank you again. Please use the hashtag Stop Executions in Iran and Free Toomaj and Women Life Freedom. That's basically all we're asking. Thank you.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?